Hi, Darcy.
Hi.
Okay, so I went over your video and I figured that we could go back and forth in reference to a few things that we thought we saw for each video. Are you good with that?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. So one of the first questions was, what attending skills does this listener demonstrate? How do these skills impact the overall conversation and demeanor of the SP? I said your active listening skills where you asked a lot of open-ended questions, you had a reflective listening, you were very non-judgmental, which I thought was absolutely amazing. You focused on the client and the client needs. You did a lot of head nodding and agreements, and you created a safe space for the client. Some of the open-ended questions that you did ask, which would be the next question, there's asking about closed and open-ended questions. So the closed questions I saw were, how many cigarettes do you think you were smoking a day? The response was easily a pack, and so it was really quick. Your open-ended questions that I really enjoyed this one. Other than health issues that have come up, have you had any other issues that have come up? All the same things that have happened for 25 years. Client was much more open and free flowing. And then you said, how does that make you feel? Which I thought that that was very impressionable because you want to let them be able to express their feelings in reference to that. And I thought that was amazing. What are simple and complex reflections? Your simple reflections were, so we have high blood pressure. So you were saying, hey, it's very simple. It's just responding back to them. You have thought about ways to cut back. So very simple and very quick. And I really like that. But your more complex ones that I thought that you dug deep into were, what I'm hearing is that we lost our father recently to cancer and we work as a nurse. And would you say that we use the cigarettes as coping skill for the stress? So you're diving deeper because she never brought up stress. And so I thought that that was pretty cool that you had picked up on the stress factor of how that could impact her. You also said it sounds like we need to come up with something to replace the cigarette smoking with, offer different activities, and talked about your mother replacing with journaling. So you were even incorporating your own life to it. Choose one skill the listener could improve on. The only thing I could see, and I think it's in reference to the Zoom call, was at one point you spoke right whenever the client was supposed to be speaking as well, and so it kind of with Zoom you have those really weird things, but that is actually the only thing I could figure out that I would change because you did an amazing job. And my biggest encouraging takeaway, I actually wrote down, I saw a lot of similarities between your and my video. I feel that you did an amazing job. Thus, I feel much better about myself. You make me feel better about my journey in this program as a social worker. I was nervous about my first video. You have an innate ability to keep the client talking and feeling involved. You're also very quick-witted that makes you think in the moment. I would have to assume that you've done this for a long time. So those were my responsive feedbacks for you.
Oh, well, that's amazing because everything that you're saying, in regards to what you see is what I've been wanting,
Mhm.
to convey. And, like you and I have discussed previously, you and I don't have social work backgrounds, so it is very nice to hear someone say, are you sure you haven't, been doing this for a minute? Because I have been so uncertain in my ability. I can have conversations with a wall, don't get me wrong, but to actually be with a client and be able to have those positive interactions and be able to think on your feet, you
Mhm.
know, I'm quick-witted in the sense that like I can be very sarcastic. I grew up in a very sarcastic household. So trying to tailor and curb that because I can't do that with a client setting. So that just reiterates that I'm on the right path and doing the right thing. So I appreciate that feedback very much.
Absolutely. You're doing an amazing job and I'm 100% serious in this. I think that I would not have guessed that you're not in this background, just how amazing you did that job. So,
Well, I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, so my turn.
Oh
Okay,
no.
I go. Be prepared. No, I'm kidding. No, you did remarkably well. And I have to reiterate exactly what you've told me. I would not know that you have not been doing this. Like seriously. Um you open up to the client right away. You approach things in a very calm, collected, very thorough manner, and the client opens up to you very naturally. And I witnessed that from like the very first second you started with go. She opened up very quickly. So good job there. So let's go through the questionnaire that they asked. What attending skills does the listener demonstrate? How did these skills impact the overall conversation and demeanor of the SP? So one of the things that I wrote down, your attending skills, was you did have constant head nodding, which shows that you're engaging, you're listening to what the client has to say. You're acknowledging, it's your body language. You're acknowledging what they're saying, and you're taking it in, you're processing it, which is great. You always had a very supportive tone in your voice. There was never judgment or questioning, are they telling me the truth or anything like that? Because I've heard some clients and that my friends have worked with, talk about how they don't trust, and you're establishing that trust with them, just through your tone of voice and your open body language. Like I said, no condescending tone. You have great eye contact with the client as you're interacting with them. You're not looking away or being distracted. You're focused. You say, I understand periodically to allow them that opportunity to touch base. I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, and clients need that. And you do have the occasional smile. So as you're getting to know them, you soften up a little bit and you just let it come. And that's fantastic. So let's see, what's the next one? What are some of the open and closed questions used by the listener, and what did you observe in the SP when these questions were asked? I wrote down that you did really good open-ended questions, and I really didn't hear very many closed, if any. Like your strong suit is open-ended questions. You're really on top of that. And that was impressive. I loved hearing those. And I even jotted some down for future reference. But some of the key ones was, tell me ways smoking has impacted you in the past. Touching base on, she had mentioned how often she had smoked, and you basically dug right in and said, tell me how this is affecting you. Tell me how this affects your family. So you're digging deeper, you're getting to the point of why the change in smoking needs to happen. And I loved that. And she gave you quite a bit of feedback with that. And I was like, okay. And you also you asked a very good question, which didn't even come to mind in my own interview, was, do you have a good support network, and who does it consist of? That was so on point that I wish I would have thought of it myself, because we forget how much that support system is necessary to make big changes in your life. So I loved that you asked that. And she quickly dove in and touched base on her support system, and that it was her husband and her kids, and she did touch base that she has some coworkers that would probably help, but they also are smokers too. So it could be one of those hindrances, down the line. And she acknowledged that as well. So I thought that was fantastic, because it got her thinking, outside of the people we see, who else can we contribute to our support network? So it really got her to stop and think about that for a second. So that was great. What are some simple and complex reflections used by the listener, and what did you observe in the SP when those reflections were used? One of the things that I had put was, you did excellent paraphrasing and reflecting it back to her based off of what she had said in regards to her smoking habits, the people she associates with, what her job entails. And you also pinpointed on some of her stressors, which I don't think she initially thought about, but how those can have a serious impact on her ability to cope with, the process of quitting smoking. So I thought that was fantastic. And she embraced that and opened up even more by digging a little deeper and saying a little bit more about why she wants to quit, the need for quitting, and how those things affect it. And she did touch base that at some point her father had passed away, which in hindsight, depending on that relationship, if you were close with your family member or maybe there was distance prior to, that could also be a reason why she's smoking.
Mhm.
So that was excellent. Um, let's see. You acknowledged the health issues and did a lot of great open questions. Like, again, you're fantastic with open questions. I really think you should be teaching a class on that. Like you pulled that out of the bag. I was so impressed with that. But again, you made the client feel comfortable and relaxed and really felt like she could say anything and everything she needed to get the stress, like to stress the point that yes, I know I need to quit smoking. This is not good for me. No, so that was fantastic. You did a great job there. Choose one skill that the listener could improve on and share why you chose that particular skill. Again, there's not a whole lot of critique that I feel like I can give, because it really was fantastic to watch. There were only a couple things, and they're slight, is the use of impact. The word impact was used very frequently throughout. And I know that in our reading and stuff, they mentioned pick different wording so it doesn't sound so broken record, I guess is the right word. That's the only thing I can think of is that the word impact was used very frequently. And I know a lot of our questions are, how does it impact? How does this influence? How does, you know what I mean? So that's really, I think, my only critique, and it's really minor. Like on the scale, it's so minor. But yeah, I thought for the most part, you did great. Share what your biggest encouraging takeaway is from viewing their video and explain why you found this helpful. I'm going to go back to kind of what you said at the end of mine, was that it's really encouraging and wonderful to see someone coming from a similar background with not having the education that, some of our classmates probably have, and to see that it flows so naturally with somebody else and being able to bounce that off. You and I are coming from the same kind of, not full perspective, but we have the same in common, that we're not in this field. We're coming and flying in by the seat of our pants. So watching someone kind of in the same shoes has been very peaceful for me. Like, it puts me at ease knowing if she can do it, then I know I can. And learning from your video about how to ask open-ended questions, so it gives me more motivation to keep doing what I'm doing and to practice more. So I appreciate watching your video and seeing how naturally it flowed for someone with a similar, background as mine. So I really, really loved that. And it keeps me motivated. It keeps me going. So I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Well, thank you so much for your feedback. That was very kind and makes my heart warm. So I'm really glad to hear that I do good with open-ended questioning. That might come from the teaching background because I have to constantly do that all day long.
Well, there you go. You get it. You get it. And I mean, props, it has paid off for you.
But I'm really happy that we got paired together. I would watch your stuff all the time. I love seeing you. You did great.
Well,
So,
thank
but
you. I appreciate it.
thank you so much for joining me, and it's been a very nice situation. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I agree. Thank you so much.